Hello everyone, good afternoon. Today I'm going to have a presentation about Martin Luther King Jr. But before I start, I have a recommendation about one book. And that picture is a cover of a book. And if I translate the title into English, it's Martin Luther King, a human rights activist who had dreamed of peace. But actually that's a Korean book and the author is from Korea too. And I'm recommending this book to you guys because after I read that book, I was so impressed that I couldn't help but recommend it. So I bet that you guys might, after reading that, you might feel like, wow, Martin Luther King is so amazing guy and he's so incredible like that. And it's you guys free to read it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And my presentation is divided by 5 parts. And first, his early life and education. And second, his motto. And third, Martin Luther King's human rights movement. And fourth is Martin Luther King's naysayer. And the last, I've prepared several quizzes. And here, naysayer means someone who says it's not good and it's not possible and it will fail to Martin Luther King. And I'm going to contrast them. And first is Martin Luther King's early life and education. And he was born in January 15, 1929 in Atlanta. And he was the second child born to 3 children to Michael King Sr., his father, and Alberta William King, his mother. And at that time, his father was a quite famous minister, so his home environment was not that bad. And third is when he was born, there was a racial discrimination laws. And also in 1930s, there in southern USA, there was Jim Crow laws that separated the whites and blacks. And also he's an American civil rights activist too, and he had awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. And next is about his motto. And he said a lot of mottos while he was doing a sermoning. And sermoning in here is a talk about religious or moral subjects. And he said, at the center of nonviolence stands the principle of love. And he is very famous for nonviolent activist. So he said to the blacks to love the whites, not hating them, because if they both hate each other, and their relationship is not going to be better, he thought. Okay, and next is Martin Luther King's human rights movement, and I bring 2 things. The first is Montgomery's bus boycott, and the second is Selma marches. The first upside picture is the Montgomery's bus boycott, and the downside picture is the Selma marches. And what is Montgomery's bus boycott? Montgomery bus boycott is a protest against the bus system in Montgomery, Alabama by the civil rights and their supporters. And it sparked when the arrest of Rosa Parks on December 1st, 1955 had occurred. And she was arrested because she hadn't given up her seat for the whites. And after that fact was revealed, the black citizens were so annoyed that they started the boycott. And that was quite a mess protest because it was 13 months. And also it ended up when the US Supreme Court ruling said segregation on public buses is not good for the public, so it ended up. And they protested by not riding the bus. And the second one is the Selma marches, and it was 3 days marches. And from the 1965 in Montgomery, Alabama, and they protest to the whites because the whites didn't give the blacks the constitutional right to vote. And also Martin Luther King had participated at both. And I hope that this all happened after the Jim Crow laws were stated. And Jim Crow law is a local law in southern USA that special separation between the whites and blacks. Yeah, the separation between white and blacks. Yes, and from now on, I will say about Martin Luther King's naysayer. And at the left picture is the naysayer, and his name Malcolm X. And their big difference is Malcolm X said if the blacks need to use the violence, they must use it because the blacks can't be the sufferers. And Martin Luther King said that he is non-violent, so he was very peacefully done. So they were very different way to help the black civil rights to improve. And my presentation is over from now on, and I will have 2 quizzes for you guys. The first is name one of the civil rights movements in which Martin Luther King participated and explain what it was. I have to mention 2 things, the pictures and
Bus.
Boycott.
So what was that?
Selma March.
These were the Martin Luther King did to improve them. Okay. Explain one more time. The Montgomery bus boycott was a protest against the whites because the bus system was like treated the blacks very badly. And Selma marches was the protest against the whites because they didn't give the constitutional right to vote to the blacks. And I think the second question is quite more easier. And who was Martin Luther King's naysayer? His name?
Oh, I know. Malcolm.
Yeah, that's Malcolm X is the answer. And this is the end of my presentation. And I better hope that you guys' interest is more bigger to like racial discrimination and Martin Luther King. Thank you for listening.